Hello everyone, this is Gracie here. In this video, we will be discussing illustration 16 for calculating the flexible budget. So cost of an article at a capacity level of 7,500 units is given under A, or variation of 20% on capacity above or below this level. The individual expenses vary as indicated under B below. So here there are A and B, where A is the expenses list and B is the amount of the expenses. Then in brackets they have given whether it is variable or what is the percentage of variable, and the remaining will be fixed. So when we look into materials, which is the cost is 37,500, the in brackets it is stated as 100% varying, which makes a sense that all the full amount, that is 37,500, belongs to variable expenses. Then labor cost. When we come to labor cost, 22,500, full 100% is varying. So everything is variable. When we come to power, which is 1,875, 80% is varying. So out of 1,875 and 80% is varying, so the remaining 20% will be fixed expenses, which will remain same for different capacity or level of capacity which they have given in the question. Then next is repairs and maintenance, which is 3,000. Out of 3,000, 75% will be variable, so the remaining 25% will be fixed. Then stores 1,500, 100% varying, so everything is variable expenses, so there's nothing fixed in stores. Then inspection 750, 20% is varying, so 20% out of it will be variable expenses, so the remaining 80% will be fixed expenses. Then we come to depreciation, which is 15,000, so 15,000 is 100% varying, so it is fully variable expenses. So next we have in the question where we will be having the other items, that is administration overhead, which is 7,500. In 7,500, 25% is varying and the remaining 75% is fixed expenses. So under selling overhead 4,500, 50% belongs to variable expenses, the remaining 50% is under fixed expenses. So the total cost is 94,125. So find out the cost of the production level of 6,000 units and 9,000 units. So statement of flexible budget particulars. So here they have asked us to prepare a production level of 6,000 and 9,000. So the data what is given currently is for how many thousand units, that is given in the question in the first line. So cost of an article at a capacity level of 7,500 unit is given under A. So uh, it is the expenses or cost for the level capacity of 7,500. They are given for 7,500 and they are asking us to prepare for production level 6,000 units and 9,000 units. So let us prepare statement of flexible budget. So we have particulars 7,500 and we have 6,000 units and 9,000 units. So now for every problem we need to have amount column and per unit column for each level of capacity. So now as they have given information for 7,500, we will start with 7,500 plus first, and then 6,000 and then 9,000. So now we have particulars materials 37,500, which is given in the question. So as it is stated 100% is varying, so full 100% will be variable expenses. So material 37,500. The per unit value, so to find out the per unit value, 7,500 units. So 37,500 divided by 7,500 will give us 5. So the per unit value for material is 5. Next, for 6,000 units, the cost is, so as the per unit value I've already told, for area variable expenses per unit value will always be the same. Only the variable expenses, the amount, total amount keeps on changing based on the number of units. So now 5 is for 7,500 units, for 6,000 also it will be 5, and for 9,000 will also be 5. So 5 into 6,000 will give us 30,000 and 5 into 9,000 will give us 45,000. So next is our as per the question, we have labor cost, which is 22,500. So in bracket, they have stated 100% is varying. So if everything 100% is variable, so labor cost 22,500 for 7,500 units. So now 22,500 divided by 7,500, which will give us 3. So 3 is the per unit value. So this per unit value will be same for 6,000 and 9,000 units. So 6,000 divided by 3, I'm sorry, 6,000 into 3 will give us 18,000. Then 9,000 into 3 will give us 27,000. Next we have power. So in power 80% is varying, so the remaining 20% is fixed. So out of 1,875, 80% is varying. So 80% of 1,875 will give us 1,500 as variable expenses, and the remaining 20% will be 20% of so 1,875 into 80% of it will be giving us 1,500. So that is what is shown in this table, 1,500 as variable expenses. So if 80% is variable, then the remaining 20% will be fixed. So out of 1,000, so out of 1,875, the remaining 20% is fixed. So 1,875 into 20% will give us 375. So 375 fixed will be fixed for all the units, that is 6,000 units, 9,000 units, as well as 7,500 units. It will be 375. The cost per unit will change for fixed cost. As I have already discussed, for fixed cost, the total cost will remain same, but the cost per unit will vary. For variable cost, the unit will be fixed, but the total amount will vary based on the number of units produced. So next expenses, what is mentioned in the question is repairs and maintenance. So under repairs and maintenance, it is 3,000. In 3,000, 75% belongs to variable expenses. So 3,000 into 75% will give us 3,000 into 75% will give us 2,250. So 2,250 is variable expenses. So 2,250 is variable expenses. So what will be the cost per unit? 2,250 divided by number of units, 7,500, will give us 0.3. So as it is variable expenses, cost per unit will be same for all the units. So 0.3 for 6,000 units, 0.3 for 9,000 units. So now 0.3 into 6,000 will give us 1,800. 0.3 into 9,000 will give us 2,700. So this is our variable expenses. So out of 100%, 75% is variable. So what is the remaining? 25% was fixed. So out of 3,000 into 25% will give you 750. So 750 is the fixed expenses of repairs and maintenance. So it will remain same for all the units which has been given. So 750 for 7,500, 750 divided by 7,500, which will give us 0.1 is the cost per unit. Now here the total cost will remain same, that is for 7,500, 750, for 6,750, for 9,000 also 750, but only the cost per unit will fluctuate under fixed expenses allocation. So what is your next expenses? Stores, just 1,500. So in this 100% is varying. That means 100% is fully variable. So stores fully variable, how much is it? 1,500. So 1,500 divided by 7,500 to find out the per unit, which is 0.2. So 0.2 for 6,000 units, 0.2 for 9,000 units. So 0.2 into 6,000 will give us 1,200. 0.2 into 9,000 will give us 1,800. So what is the next expenses? Inspection. So what is the total inspection? 750. In 750, 20% is varying. So if 20% is variable, what is the remaining percent? 80%. So 80% is fixed expenses. So now first we will show the variable 20%. So 750 into 20%, which will give us 150. So 150 is your variable expenses. So find out the cost per unit. 150 divided by 7,500, which will give us 0.02. So now the cost per unit will remain same for variable expenses. So for 6,000 into 0.002 cost per unit of variable expenses of inspection into 6,000 will give you 120. Then 0.02 into 9,000 will give us 180. So now in inspection, 20% is variable. So what is the remaining percentage? 80%. So 750 into 80%, which will give us 600. In this 600, which is fixed expenses, it will remain same for all the units. 600 for 7,500, 600 for 6,000, 600 for 9,000. So now we need to calculate the cost per unit. So 600 divided by 7,500 will give us 0.08. The same way, 600 divided by 6,000 will give us 0.01. Next, 9,000 divided by 0. I'm sorry, 0.0. 600 divided by 9,000, which will give us 0.06. So 0.06 as your 0.6. So they have taken it here as 0.07. So this is your fixed expenses per unit cost for all the three units. So what is your next expenses as per the question is? So as per the question is depreciation. So depreciation is how much? 15,000. So in this 15,000, full 100% is varying. So 100% is varying. So everything is variable expenses. So 15,000 for 7,500. So 15,000 divided by 7,500, which will give us the per unit value. So divided by 7,500, which will give us 2. So 2 rupees is the cost per unit for depreciation. So now for 6,000, per unit will remain same. So 2 into 6,000 will give us 12,000. Then 2 into 9,000 will give us 18,000. So the next expense is administration overhead. And administration overhead is 7,500. In 7,500, they have stated in brackets 25% is variable, which is 1,875. So 25% is variable, which is 1,875. 1,875 divided by 7,500 units, which will give us 0.25. So now 0.25 into 6 for 6,000 units will give us 1,500. Then for 9,000 units, 0.25 into 9,000 will give us 2,250. So this is your variable expenses for administration overhead. If 25% is variable, then the remaining 75% out of 7,500 into 75% is fixed. So which will give us 5,625. So 5,625, 5,625, 5,625, and the cost per unit will vary. So 5,625 divided by 7,500 will give us 0.75. So which we have taken here 0.75. Then we have 5,625 divided by 6,000, which will give us 0.937, where you can take it as 0.94. Next again, we have 5,625 divided by 9,000, which will give us 0.625. So 0.625 will be taken. So now your classification of administration overhead is done. Next is selling overhead. So under selling overhead, they have mentioned 4,500. So in 4,500, 50% is varying. So 50% is variable, the remaining 50% is fixed. So 4,500 into 50%, which will give us 2,250. So 2,250 is variable, 2,250 is fixed. So now variable expenses 2,250 divided by 7,500 to find the cost per unit, which is 0.3. So the 0.3 will be the per unit for 6,000 units. So 6,000 into 0.3 will give us 1,800. 0.3 into 9,000 will give us 2,700. Now fixed is how much? 2,250, which will remain same for the all the units. So for 6,000 also it is 2,250, for 9,000 also 2,250, because those expenses are fixed. But what will change? The cost per unit will change. So 2250 divided by 7500, which will give us 0.3 for 7500 units. Then for 2250 divided by 6000, which will give us 0.375, which is for 6000 units. Then 2250 divided by 9000, which will give us 0.25 for 9000 units. So this is your total expenses which you have recorded. So they have given here for the total cost is also given for 7500 units, which is 94,125. So if you add up all your total expenses for 7500 units, you will get a total of 94,125. The cost per unit is 12.55. Next, if you add up 6000 units, all the expenses, you will be getting the total of 77,220, and the cost per unit is 12.875. Then for 9000 units, the total you will be getting 1,11,030, and the cost per unit is 12.335. So this is the statement of flexible budget for the given problem. They have asked us to find out the cost of the production level for 6000 units and 9000 units. So we have found out what is the cost for 6000 and 9000. So the next problem what we are going to discuss is Illustration 17. Draw up a flexible budget for overhead expenses on the basis of the following data and determine the overhead rate at 75% and 90%. Calculate direct labor rate at 70%, 80%, and 90% capacity. So here overhead capacity level of 80% is given. So we will calculate for 70% and 90%. So variable overheads under that we have indirect labor is your first variable overhead. Next we have stores including space. Then we have semi-variable overhead, power fixed, power 30% and fixed is 70%. Repairs semi-variable, 60% fixed and 40% is variable. Then fixed overheads we have depreciation, insurance and salary. So this kind of problem we have already solved, but again we will classify it and we will learn this. So here they have given us the information about 80% is given. We need to classify and show up the overhead rate for 70% and 90%. So we will show up the overhead rate for 80 per overhead amount for 80% and 90%. So in this question, information regarding 80% capacity is given and all the information is given. They have given us power. Out of power, 30% is fixed and 70% is variable. So this power as fixed as well as variable. So it will be called as semi-variable expenses. So now let us show the calculation. So we will prepare a statement showing statement of flexible budget particulars. We have 80% information is given, so we need to find out for 70% and for 90% how much is it. So for 70% and 90%, how will we find it out is based on your cross multiplication we will be finding it. So as we are preparing the statement of flexible budget, here we have not classified as total amount and units, because in the question if you look into the information what is given, they have not given information about units or cost per unit values. So there is no need for us to required for us to have a classification and cost per unit as we have shown in the previous question what we have solved. So it is directly the amount, because units information is not given as well as cost per unit value is also not given. So we have 70%, 80%, 90% and particulars. So what is your first expenses? Variable overheads. So under your variable overheads, indirect labor and stores including space is given, which is 9 lakh and 3 lakh, which is for 80%. So 9 lakh and 3 lakh, which is for 80%. So now for 70% we will cross multiply. So when we cross multiply, we will be getting, that is for 80% if it is 9 lakh, then for 70% how much is it? So we will be getting it as, so for 80% if it is 9 lakh, for 70% how much is it? 70 into 9 lakh divided by 70, divided by, I will repeat it again, For 80%, if it is 9 lakh, for 70%, how much is it? So 70 into 9 lakh divided by 80, which will give us 7,87,500. So I have taught you how to do the cross multiplication. So the same cross multiplication you will adopt and solve the problems. Same way for 90%. For 80%, if it is 9 lakh, then for 90%, how much is it? Cross multiply. So 90 into 9 lakh divided by 80, which will give us 10 lakh 12,500. So the same thing we have got here. The same thing is applicable for stores including space. So for 80%, if it is 3 lakh, then for 70%, how much is it? So 70 into 3 lakh divided by 80, so where we'll be getting 2,62,500. Then the same thing is applicable for 90%. For 80%, if it is 3 lakh, for 90%, how much is it? So 90 into 3 lakh divided by 80, which will give us the 3,37,500. So your variable overheads are done. Next is your semi-variable overheads. Under that power, 30% is fixed and 70% is variable. So what is your cost of your power? Cost of power is 15 lakh. So out of 15 lakh, 15 lakh into 30%, which will give us 4,50,000. So 4,50,000 will be variable. As this is for 80%, we will be writing in the 80% capacity column. So fixed is 30% of 15 lakh is 4,50,000. Then the remaining is 70% is variable. So out of 15 lakh, 70% of it is, out of 15 lakh, 15 lakhs into 70% will give us 10 lakh 550,000 will be under variable. So now as fixed cost will remain same for whatever the capacity is. So 4 lakh 50, 4 lakh 50 for all the capacity, 70%, 80% and 90%. But it will vary for variable cost. So you will do cross multiplication again here. For 80%, if it is 10 lakh, 50,000, then for 70%, how much is it? So 70 into 10,50,000 divided by 70, which will give us, 10,50,000 into 70 divided by 80, which will give us 9,18,750. So what we have got, 9,18,750. So next, the same cross multiplication will be applicable for 90%. For 80%, if it is 10,50,000, then for 90%, how much is it? Cross multiply. So 90 into 10,50,000 divided by 80, so which will give you 11,81,250. So we have found out power variable as fixed expense as well as fixed expenses for all the capacity. So the next expenses as per the question is repairs, semi variable. So the total amount for repairs is 1,50,000. In this 1,50,000, 60% is fixed and 40% is variable. So 1,50,000, 40% is variable. So 1,50,000 into 40%, which will give us 60,000. So we have written under 80% capacity column 60,000. Next we have 1,50,000 into 40% is variable, so the remaining 60% is 90,000. 60% of 1,50,000 is 90,000, which is fixed expenses. So 90,000 will be same for all the capacity. So now we need to find out what is the variable expenses for 70 and 90%. So what we are going to do, we are going to do the cross multiplication. So what is the cross multiplication? If for 80%, if it is 60,000, then for 70%, how much is it? 70 into 60,000 divided by 80, which will give us 52,500. So what we have got, 52,500. And the same thing is applicable for 90% as well. So for 80%, if it is 60,000, and for 90%, how much is it? Cross multiply. 90 into 67,500 divided by 80, which will give us once again for 80% if it is 60,000, then for 90% how much is it? 90 into 60,000 divided by 80, which will give us 67,500. So repairs and machinery, repairs, which is a semi-variable expenses, is also recorded. Next is fixed overhead, depreciation, insurance, salary. As I've already told, fixed overheads will always be fixed for all the capacity irrespective of how many ever units are produced. So depreciation 8,25,000, then insurance 2,25,000, then salary 7,50,000, which will remain same for 70% capacity and 90% capacity. So now we will total up the overheads. So when we total up the overheads for 70%, we will be getting 43 lakh 61,250. For 80%, we will be getting 46 lakh 50,000, and for 90%, we will be getting 49 lakh 38,750. So this is the total cost. So in this problem, they have not given information about labor hours or total hours to find out the cost per unit. So we will not be able to find out the cost per unit. This is the, we have determined what is the total overhead for the flexible budget with different capacity. So the next problem what we're going to discuss is the details given below relate to 60% capacity when the production was 600 units. So when the production was 600 units, these are the capacity. That is materials 120 per unit, labor 50 per unit, expense 15 per unit, factory expenses 50,000. So out of this 50,000, 40% is fixed. So what is the remaining? 60% is variable. Then we have administration expenses, which is 30,000. So out of this 35,000, 60% is fixed, so the remaining 40% is variable. So prepare a flexible budget showing marginal cost and total cost for 60%, 80% and 100% capacity. So they've asked us to prepare statement of flexible budget for 60%, which are 600 units, then for 80% and for 100% they have asked to prepare. So we will start preparing statement of flexible budget particulars 60%, 80% and 100%. For 60% units, your number of units is given, which is 600. Then for 80% you can easily find out. How can you find out? Through cross multiplication. So how is that cross multiplication? Just write for 60%, if it is how many units? 600 units. Then for 80%, how much is it? So multiply 80 into 600 divided by 60, which will give us 800 units. The same cross multiplication is applicable for 100% also. For 60%, if it is 600 units, and for 100%, how much is it? 100 into 600 divided by 60, which will give us 1000 units. So we have got the units here. So now we, as in the question, as they have given per unit value and the number of units, we will have two columns, which is amount and cost per unit for each capacity. So now under particulars, we have all, we are going to account all the cost. So now we will be taking into consideration material, labor and expenses. So as these are the factory expenses which is maintained, and now material is rupees 120 per unit and 50 per unit is the labor, expenses is 15 per unit. So we will be writing material 120, labor 50, and we have expenses 15. So now as I've told, these are variable expenses. For variable expenses, cost per unit will remain same, only the total amount will fluctuate. So the cost per unit will remain same for 60%. For 80% also it is 120, 50 and 15, and for 100% also it is 120, 50 and 15. So 120 into 600 units will give you 72,000. 50 into 600 units will give you 30,000. 15 into 600 units will give you 9,000. The same thing will be multiplying. 120 into 800 units will be giving 96,000. 50 into 800 will give you 40,000. 15 into 800 units will give you 12,000. Then for 100% with 1000 units, cost per unit is 120 for materials. So 120 into 1000 will give us 1,20,000. Then 50 into 1000 units will give us 50,000. Then 15 into 1000 units will give us 15,000. So this is your total manufacturing expenses which is incurred. Then they have given your factory expenses, which is 50,000. Out of 50,000, 40% is fixed. So what is the remaining expenses? So 40% is fixed, so the remaining is your variable expenses. So now what we will do, we will first take into consideration variable expenses, and then we will add up your fixed expenses. We are classifying variables separately and fixed separately because in the question they have asked you show marginal cost and total cost. So we have already discussed about marginal cost. So what is marginal cost? Is nothing but the variable cost. So they have asked us to classify by showing all your variable cost and your total cost in such a way the flexible budget should be prepared. So when they ask us to show marginal cost, it is nothing but variable expenses. So till material labor expenses are variable. Now in factory expenses they have told 40% is fixed out of 50,000. So in 50,000 40% is fixed. What is the remaining percentage? 60%. So if 40% is fixed, the remaining will be 60%. So 60% out of 50,000, 60% of it will give you how much? So which will give you 30,000. So 30,000, we have got 30,000 here. So 30,000 divided by divided by 600 will give us 50. Then this 50 is, as it is a variable expenses, as I've told, cost per unit will remain same. So 50 for 800 units, 50 for 1000 units. So now multiply 50 into 800, you'll be getting 40,000, and 50 into 1000 you'll be getting 50,000. So now next variable expenses for administration expenses, cost is 35,000. In 60% is fixed. So if 60% is fixed, how much is variable? 100 minus 60, which is 40. So 40% is variable. So we will be charging. So now 35,000 into 40% variable, which will give us 14,000. So we have taken 14,000 under 600 units. So now we will find out the cost per unit. 14,000 divided by how many units? 600 units divided by 600, which will give us 23.33. So we will take 23.33. As this is variable expenses, cost per unit will be same. So for 800 units also we will take 23.33, and for 1000 units also 23.33. So now for 600 we have found it is 14,000. Now for 800, 23.33 into 800 units, which will give us 18,667. Same way 23.33 into 1000 units will give us 23,330. So now we will total up all your variable expenses. Next we need to show our fixed expenses. Then we will add up to find out the total cost. So now for 600 units, the total cost is variable expenses or marginal cost is 1,55,000. Per unit cost is 258.33. Then for 800 units, the total cost, marginal cost is 2,06,667. Then per unit value is 258.33. Then for 1000 units, it is total amount is 2,58,330, and per unit value is 258.33. So now we will add up factory expenses fixed. So how much was your factory expenses? 50,000. In that 40% is fixed. So 50,000 into 40% of it, which will give us 20,000. So 20,000. So as it is fixed, it will remain same for all the units. 20,000, 20,000, 20,000. But here cost per unit will change. So 20,000 divided by 600 will give us 33.33. For 800 units, 20,000 divided by 800 will give us 25. And for 1000 units, 20,000 divided by 1000 will give us 20. Next we have administration expenses. So in this 60% is fixed. So variable we have already shown. Now 60% is fixed. So out of 35,000 into 60% is fixed, which is 21,000. So as this is fixed expenses, 21,000 will be applicable for all the units. So 21,000 for 600 units, 21,000 for 800 units, 21,000 for 1000 units, but the cost per unit will fluctuate. For 600 units, 21,000 divided by 600 will give us 35. Then for 800 units, 21,000 divided by 800 will give us 26.25. Then for 1000 units, 21,000 divided by 1000 will give us 21. So now we have got a fixed cost as well as we have got 6 fixed cost as well. So we will add up total marginal cost and fixed cost. So total marginal cost, which is 1,55,000 for 600 units, add 20,000 factory expenses, which is fixed, and 21,000 of fixed expenses, which will give us 1,96,000, and the total cost per unit is 326.66. For 80% units, the total marginal cost what we have got is 2,06,667 plus the fixed expenses 20,000 and 21,000, which will give us 2,47,667. We have also got the cost per unit for total cost per unit for it is, which is 309.58. Now for 1000 units, we have got marginal cost or total variable cost as 2,58,330. With that, we will add fixed expenses, which is 20,000 for factory and 21,000 for administration. So the total of it will be 2,99,330, and the cost per unit also is got. Total cost per unit is also got here, which is 299.33. So this is the end of this illustration 12. So the last problem what we have is illustration 21. A printing company limited entered the following profit and loss account during the year 2014. 2014 sales is given, which is 3,55,800. Expenses is given, which is 74,200. Then raw materials 48,800. Stores 2 lakh. Sorry, so they have stated here sales is 3,55,800, and they have stated expenses. Under expenses they have raw materials, stores, which is your factory expenses. Raw materials is 74,200, stores is 48,800. Then we have expenses, which is 2,04,000. Then we have interest, which is 20,000. Then we have depreciation, which is 20,000. So the total expenses is 3,67,000. 67,000. So the sales what we have made is 3,55,800. If you minus the expense 3,67,000, we are getting a loss. So next year stated the company had been working at 60%. So this calculation what is done, the sales and the loss calculation is for 60% capacity during 2013. So they've asked us during 2013 of the expenses 2,04,000. Out of expenses 2,04,000, that is this one. The expenses of 2,04,000, 25% is variable. In 2014, production sales volume at 80% capacity is expected to be achieved. Fixed cost, that is however expected to increase by 12,000. Draw 2014 budget. So they've asked us to calculate to show for 80% capacity what is it, and they have stated in the adjustment the company had been working at 60% capacity during 2013 of the expenses. 2,04,000, 25% was variable. So we need to classify out of this expense 25% variable and the remaining amount as fixed, and show it in the calculation. So that is what they have asked us to find out. So what we are supposed to find out is for 80% capacity what are the cost. So now let us prepare the budget for 2014 based on the flexible budgeting. So first item is sales. So sales is 3,55,800 for what? This is for 60%. They have asked us to prepare for 80%. So you will cross multiply. So when you cross multiply for 60%, if it is 3,55,800, then for 80% how much is it? So it will be 80 into 3,55,800 divided by 60, which will give us 4,74,400. So this is the sales. So now we will minus all the variable expenses. Now variable expenses are raw material and store, which is 74,200 for 60%. So we need to find out for 80%. So 74,200 into 80 divided by 60. That is nothing but cross multiplications what we have got. So it is 98,933. Next, stores is also variable expenses, which is 48,800, which is for 60%. So for 60%, if it is 48,800, then for 80%, how much is it? So cross multiplication. So 48,800 into 80 divided by 60, which will give us 65,067. So this is your total stores. So now we have got a total variable expenses, which is 98,933 plus stores 65,067, which will give us 1,64,000. So next is our semi variable expenses. So as they have told us, in the expenses to the 2,04,000, 25% is variable, so the remaining 75% is fixed. So when one particular expenses is classified as half variable or half fixed, or 25% is variable, or 20 remaining 75% is fixed, then it is called as semi variable expenses, because it has variable expenses in a part of it is the variable expenses. So it is called as semi variable expenses. So now we will show the calculation of semi variable expenses. So now first we will find out for 80% what is the semi variable expenses. So now 2,04,000 is for our 60% capacity. So for 80%, how much is it? We will cross multiply. So 2,04,000 into 80 divided by 60. So how much we will be getting? Which is 2,04,000 into 80 divided by 60, where we will be getting 2,72,000. So out of this 2,72,000, 25% is 25% is variable, and the remaining 75% is fixed. So 25% is variable. So what I've explained now will be one method of finding. So now as per the textbook, the calculation what is given here is expenses. What they have done, they have not found out for 80%. So they have directly used 60%, because there is classification of fixed and variable. As I've told, fixed will remain same irrespective of whatever the capacity is. So now at 60%, the expense is 2,04,000. So this 2,04,000, 25% as per the question is 25% is variable. So 2,04,000 into 25% variable expenses, we will be getting 51,000. Then 75% fixed, we will be getting 1,53,000. So as I've told, fixed expenses, whatever the capacity, for 60% if it is 1,53,000, then for 80, 90, 100, everything it will be 1,53,000. So fixed expenses will not change, but our variable expenses will change as it keeps on changing based on the capacity you change. So now variable expenses 51,000 you have got for 25% variable, 51,000 what you have got. So now this expense is 2,04,000 into 25, you have got 51,000. This is for what capacity? 60 capacity. But as I've told, variable expenses changes basis on capacity. You need to find out for 80% what is your variable expenses. So now for 60%, if your variable expenses is 51,000, then for 80% how much is it? Cross multiply. So 51,000 into 80 divided by 60 will give you 68,000. So your total semi variable expenses is 68,000, which is your variable expenses where you got from this calculation. Your fixed expense will remain same. For 60% it will remain same, for 80% also it will remain same. It will not change irrespective of the changes of the number of units. So it is 1,53,000, but only variable will change for 80% capacity. So 1,53,000 plus 68,000 will give you 2,21,000. So you will have to add up 2,21,000 with 1,64,000. You will be getting 3,85,000. 80,000. So this is your total cost for 80% capacity. So you can ask me in why interest and depreciation is not taken. So this is the cost sheet what you're preparing. So you will be taking interest and depreciation calculation in your profit and loss account, but not in the flexible budgeting what you are preparing. Flexible budget is mainly prepared to know what is the cost of the goods which is manufactured. So here this is the profit and loss information. So we are only preparing it to find out what is the budget, to know what is your fixed variable expenses, fixed expenses and semi variable expenses. So thank you everyone. Your flexible budget problems ends here.